What's up, Kingdom of Rock? This is Matt Gibson, and I am here with my awesome co-host, Michael Melinda, and our special guest, Miss Corrin Campbell. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Why did I call you Corrin? Of all the times that I mispronounce your name, right in your intro, Corrin.
You're fired. Correct. You're fired.
I know. She even put phonetic spelling out there.
It's not quite as awesome as the time Matt fell off his chair almost immediately upon introducing the show, but
that may or may not have happened. But I wasn't drinking.
That's a good story.
Yeah, but Matt, why don't you properly intro our guest so that people know who the heck we're talking about?
Okay, here we go. Let's try this.
Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's on this rare occasion when we can bring the world's thought leaders to you and present their awesomeness. Wait,
no, you're screwing up. Get to the point.
Okay. Corrin Campbell, co-founder of Indepreneur, is here with us, and she's gonna tell us how to not be broke musicians in the middle of a pandemic. So all of the hope of the music industry is on you right now, but no pressure.
I'm here for it. It's fine.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you may be wondering if, Corrin is like some type of a film buff or a ghoul or something like that, but she's actually in Nashville right now in the midst of not only a global pandemic, but apparently a global ice storm. And it took the power lines out or something. And so she's operating on kind of a reduced footprint right now.
I also think that's kind of like the most awesome look we've probably ever had a guest look. I mean, don't you think that's so vibey? It's not even funny.
I did it on purpose. I took out the whole grid. No,
she left her makeup out at the office, and so she turned all the lights off. So
yeah. Well, anyway, congrats.
I have eyeliner on.
The vibe of the show. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
How's it going? Is it cold there?
It's like just around freezing, and we've had some snow, which in the Nashville area is pretty unusual,
Yeah.
So everyone's panicking, of course. I've been snowed in my house for a few days, and it's not because it's that crazy, it's just because they don't have enough plows to like go on the neighborhood streets. So like if I could just get out of my neighborhood, I'd be good. But my neighborhood's not plowed, and I have a Honda Civic. So,
Nice. That car is not known for its snow handling skills.
Well, and I don't have like snow tires. I'm from Minnesota, so I could make any car work, really, but this one doesn't have like snow tires on it, so not so much.
Well, apparently not to stay on the weather, but I talked to a photographer who lives out there, and the other thing is that you're not used to it's not so much the snow, it's the ice is really bad, and you're apparently not used to riding on ice either.
Right. Yeah, I think 3 inches of the precipitation was like this freezing rain that was essentially just pellets of ice, and then it snowed. So it's like, oh, great.
Hey, did you give out the link to your StreamYard to your fans? Because I have somebody in here that says that he's like a Corrin Campbell fan. Should I bring him up or what?
I did
let's
give
do that.
the link to anyone.
The fuck?
What the fuck?
Oh my God! Is that
dude?
Oh my God! It's actually Sucklord 9000 on this platform. That is my moniker.
Oh, gotcha.
Hello, Sucklord.
Matt, what the hell's happened to the show? Who is this?
It just turned to shit.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
No,
good.
I cannot talk about what we were going to talk about now. Because
you were about to drop mad shit about me.
I was about to drop some jewels for sure.
Well,
and this guy will crush all of them.
No, have at it. Have at it, Corrin. Nice to see your lovely face, by the way.
Well, yeah, thank you.
You too, Corrin.
Doesn't she look awesome in the dark there? Isn't that the most awesome movie wonderland that she's sitting in?
It's
I always gotta be special.
I'm loving the Logitech glossy glow on every single one of those 10 by 10 pixels on the encoding on that camera there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love the MacBook, right? Super
Cool.
high def.
So what are you saying, Corrin?
Welcome.
Hi.
Yeah.
Well, we just got started. So by the way, everybody, Sucklord 9000, you guys probably know who he is.
Kind of a big deal on the plastic
I can't
toy
say the
market.
name because it's trademarked.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Nope.
Well, actually, what I was going to ask, Corrin, is that actually making this an ad for Indepreneur? There's so many, initiatives like that out there. And I'm a musician. I'm trying to figure out, what do I do? There's a million of them. I mean, I just got contacted by another startup yesterday that's kind of trying to do the same thing that you're doing and also offer streaming service and all this. So I'm a musician. I'm jazzed to get my stuff together. How the hell do I know what to do? And could you give some maybe feedback about what I should look for to not join the wrong initiative?
Yeah. I mean, first off, I think, Google is a really smart dude. So you can usually find like reviews, every one of these is built on the same kind of like sales page where there's a dude at the top with the headline, gonna blow up on Spotify or whatever. And then you go down the page and there's all of these testimonials of people who are saying how amazing he is, and you just need to be careful about those, right? You want to Google stuff, and frankly, like a lot of what these people are teaching in these courses is like YouTubeable, so it's difficult though, because there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, musicians, they're broke and they are desperate to make it. So let's just make something, so I think just doing your research is really important, in the same way if you were talking to management or a label or any of the above, like look into it, see if you know anybody who's used them before, that I think we all have the power to do that now, so that would be my 2 cents.
Well, let me ask you this. What's your typical starting point for someone that comes to Indepreneur and is trying to look for help? Like what are most people that are coming into your system? What level are they in their music career typically?
It totally depends. I mean, because we have an agency who works with, I probably am not supposed to say it, so I won't, but, major like Grammy winning artists. We worked with Miss Moesha Brandy on her most recent release. So we've got people up there. We work with YouTube comedians, and then all the way down to like our, baseline trainings. And that's for people who have not started, who are just at the very infant stages of trying to figure out how to do this. And, really what I always tell people is that I think what's different about us, again, not to make it an ad or anything, but we're just basically taking what's in regular digital marketing. We don't believe that, because it's music, it needs to be super different, right? There are just decades of examples of business to consumer strategies in marketing. And so really all we're doing is taking that and adapting it for an independent musician, making it more accessible so you don't have a, fucking marketing degree or whatever, and, doing that.
It seems like a lot of the talking heads out there in the, figure out the music business space, a lot of those people are talking about grow your fan base. And they, it's almost like they're trying to get a bunch of people together with what they're doing, but it doesn't seem to be super effective. What's the difference between direct marketing to people versus having a social media presence and things like that?
I mean, I'll just preface the rest of everything I say in that, like, these are my opinions. Yeah. And I don't think they're the only right way to do anything, but this is just what I think and from my perspective, right?
Yeah.
So that said, I mean, social media is eyeballs, right? So there's, obviously some qualities inherent to the fact that a lot of people are seeing you, you know. But the problem is that the follow-up process is like, okay, and then what? They see more from you. They expect to just see things, right? There's a machine deciding whether or not they see you, which is what a lot of people like to call the algorithm, you know? So you don't have a lot of positive control over if you're talking to those people, if they see you again. You know, there are musicians putting like 15,000 fucking hashtags on their posts, but there are also all the other musicians who are using that on their posts. And if someone sees your stuff once, making sure that they see you again, especially if they found you with a hashtag, is, you know, that's not direct marketing, you know? So I'm more of the opinion that it's better to use other tools to try to get direct contact with people and then build a relationship with them. They know who you are, they're down with what you do, and you can kind of take them to the side. Like if you were going to a bar, right? There's all these dudes and there's one hot chick in the middle. You're going to try to say something cool and unique to her. And you're going to try to get out of where everybody else is and be like, yo, come over here.
Well, just to keep it 2020, there's also the possibility of getting 3 hot guys.
Well, okay.
Well,
just leveling the playing field out here.
And I would also like, go ahead. I would also like to say that I would
right now, which is 3 dudes. So, you know,
I would try to get all of the girls in the room to be talking about me, or all the guys in the room to be talking about how awesome I am to the girl. That's how I would do it.
Okay, that'll never happen, Matt. Just saying.
All right, go ahead. Fine.
We get what you're saying. You need to pull away from the pack.
Exactly.
And be special and be interesting.
That's
You the person you're trying to appeal to, which in this case is a customer.
Well, and the best way to do that isn't wearing the most bedazzled jeans, right? Which is essentially what a lot of these artists are doing. They're like, look, I'm shinier than that guy. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, just have a fucking conversation. You know? That's why they're going to give a crap about who you are, what you're doing. It's not because anything. It's very unusual for a musician to actually be that special and be able to just, you know, with the millions of creators that are out there, somehow illustrate like, oh, you know, I am that more special, you know? So yeah, that's what the direct to consumer idea is, right? Is that you are having conversations with people so that they can get to know you, you can get to know them. It makes your content better when you know what they like and what they're looking for. And they care more about what you're doing because you give a crap about them. You're not just megaphoning shit at them. You're actually responding to them directly.
And you've actually put together some pretty good marketing campaigns for your personal CDs, right? Where like maybe you would look at your social media and think, she's you know, relatively successful, but you know, not like superstar status on the external, right? But behind the scenes, you have all these funnels that you've built that go direct to the consumer, touch the consumer, warm them up, come back later, touch them again, warm them up a little bit more. And so you're constantly trying to find those people out there almost behind the scenes, right? Yeah.
I use a lot of advertising, which I barely like to talk about because there's just so many advertising for musicians out there. And but I don't necessarily recommend it's something that, you know, everybody dive into 8,000 ways and put all their cash into it right away without some education. But yeah, I mean, I advertise to people. I get them into my world, show them a little bit about what's going on. And then I say, hey, I'll have all this exclusive content. I don't call it that because I hate the word content when you're talking about, you know, users and fans. But I'll say, hey, I have this song that's not out. Nobody's heard it yet. I want to know what you think, right? I don't talk about like, hey, I'm going to give you this song and I'm a badass and you should be thankful for it. Like, it's more like, I want to know what you think about this. So then I get their email and I email it to them, or sometimes it's a text thing. You know, I'll say text this number and I'll text them the track, And then I'll follow up the next day and be like, hey, did you have a chance to listen to it? Would love to know what you think. And this starts a direct conversation. And I reply to every one of those, you know, and then it leads into, you know, this is on a hard copy of an album. If you want to grab it, it's right here, you know?
Yeah. And then how many, I think people should know that this is not something, you know, if any lazy musicians are out there, this is not an activity for a lazy person. You spend, I would imagine, a significant amount of hours talking to him.
Yeah. I spend about 40 hours with Indepreneur, right? Running Indepreneur and working on that stuff. And then I spend another 35 hours a week just on engaging with the fans, getting these funnels running, pivoting, you know, developing new things for them to do, building, you know, I built my own Patreon ripoff membership site so that I own it and I'm not paying anybody else for it. So like developing that, I have, you know, chat bots and SMS workflows and, you know, running my store online and all of that. So yeah, I mean, that's another full-time job.
Do you have a lot of automation behind the scenes for your system, or is it all mostly manual?
Oh, no, it has to be automated. Like the volume is not achievable.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask Joel, from maybe the other perspective.
We just hurry up, Matt.
We just lost him.
No, I was stretching. It's hard to stretch in an orchestra. From
kind of like the rock star perspective, where you just nowadays you can just kind of drop stuff out there and get a lot of activity. What's the contrast and comparison there? Like, how do you have much strategy when you do things? Like, how deep does it go? Or
yeah, I mean, there's a million ways you can go once you basically kind of render out your content, you know, you know, you have this thing. Yeah, I got the commodity. You know what I mean? And then the more unique ways you can find places to dump it, but dump it in where the fans are. You know what I mean? Is kind of what's important. You know what I mean? So I've seen platforms and hosts of, you know, musicians and content and stuff like that and all this and that, where like the systems infrastructure have been awesome. And the UI is just slick, and the usability, as like, even if I'm not technically proficient, you know, it's just, oh, I do this, and then upload that, and then it's all the package and it's all presented nicely on the endpoint and all that stuff. That doesn't mean the fans are there. You know what I mean? Like it's you got to really pick and choose your battle. Like, I mean, the best way that I do it is I take kind of a thermometer and stick it up my fan base's ass, in the sense that, like, so I got this big community, but I know the hardcore ones, or the ones who I know are vested in what color socks I'm wearing, hang out in different places. You know what I mean? The general fan, I've heard of Deadmau5, and I may have blindly clicked on follow 13 years ago and just never really unfollowed. You know, that's to me not a mark. You know what I mean? I'm putting marketing hat on now. I'm not thinking of, you know, I don't see or regard people in that aspect as a fan. You know, because I mean that's sliding scale stuff. You know, it's eye of the beholder thing. But you know, there are pockets, as you know, a musician, big or small, where you know where your fans are, and the ones who are marks. And for me personally, I know there are diehards on Discord, for example. That's one outlet where I could go to point them to where, you know, the stuff is, hey guys, I'm joining this site and here's where this content is going to live, or I'm joining this site and my cat is on OnlyFans, you know, like shit like that. And like, I can lead the pack to that, you know? And you just have to know where they're hanging out. You don't need to know where they're shopping. You just kind of need to know where they're at, so you can give them the compass to get to the thing you do, or how you're monetizing it, or displaying it, you know, if you just want to do that. And there are very few communities I can name that have kind of coalesced the performer and the fan base in one simple platform, you know. And I like Twitch, for example, you know what I mean? So streamers, even if it's just chatting or content or stuff like that, or you know, or a live musician who sits there with his guitar and does the thing, you know, his fan base is almost always there, or hers. You know, it's like that's a community in itself. You know what I mean? But the problem that I think Twitch faces is that once the streamer stops, the interaction is dead, literally. You know, nobody hangs out when a streamer. If I'm on Twitch and I'm being Joel, everyone's, you know, communicating and talking and stuff like that. But like, okay, guys, good night. And I shut it off. That room empties out. There's no continuation of that thing. That they migrate over to their artist community hubs if they want to continue the discussion. So one trend that I've noticed, especially, well, this is just only particular in my case, is that you know how YouTube, you stream on YouTube and there's all this like chat interaction in the YouTube chat. I find that the real interaction between the fans is like happening in Discord, but they're watching in a window. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like knowing where the majority of the herd is, you know, and then you can do the singling out of the meta of the herd and find these people and stuff like that if you want to have some kind of like real interaction with them. But more often than not, musicians are just simply broadcasting, like we're broadcasting now, or you're watching content that they put out, another form of broadcasting that's just not live. You know what I mean? So at least broadcasting in this sense gives them the opportunity to, you know, interconnect with you or other fans, and they can have little arguments in there while I say something stupid, or I can have it with them while they say something stupid, you know, vice versa. But it's different when you put something out there and then, you know, Jesus, take the wheel, you know, like a tweet. You know, you tweet something and it's an open forum, and it's just basically responses to what you just did, not interaction. You know, even though Twitter is in such a way that I could go into the comments of a comment and then say no, and then follow it up with like a thread, but that's not really. That's just leaving Post-it notes up in town hall. You know, it's not interaction, but having a good sense of where your fans are and how to direct them to those two types of content. I know you hate the word, but I mean, it's precisely what it is.
I just mean when I'm talking to them. I don't.
Yeah. Hey guys, uploading some fresh content now. Like and subscribe, Coke.
Super dope content.
Smash that like button.
We got another one of your fans. Another one of your fans has showed up, Corrin.
Hey, maybe you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm gonna leave you guys with that. I'll duck out to save you guys some space. Doesn't turn into the Brady Bunch.
Hey.
Oh, you don't like the Brady Bunch?
Say hi to Poe.
Hey, Poe.
Hi, Poe.
Oh my gosh, girl, you're driving.
I know.
Watch the road.
Don't tell anyone. No, I kind of have it.
I like the glasses, though.
Thank you. They're my rose-colored glasses, so that everything looks peachy. What are you guys doing? What are you talking about?
I love you, Poe, but I gotta go.
No, fuck off. I mean, go. Bye. Miss you.
Bye, Joel.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping.
I guess he just can't watch you get in an accident. Just
you make him nervous driving.
I gave him anxiety with my multitasking skills.
No, I think
it's okay. I don't have to look at you. I mean, I can hear. I'm used to just hearing your voices anyway, so I don't have to look at you.
True.
Right.
This is the clubhouse
like
effect.
The clubhouse thing. Like it might be overload if I see you.
Exactly.
I'm actually happy there.
Well,
we were talking about content.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you know,
so exciting.
Yeah, you can hate that word, but then I thought of it as like content. So maybe we could just call
it. Uh-oh. Looks like the ice got Poe too.
Yeah, but it's that mobile internet.
You were saying earlier, Corrin, and some of what Joel was saying, it's I think sometimes, because you mentioned Patreon too, and I just know people who have put Patreon up, and then all of a sudden it's like they didn't get 50 people and they just give up, or they join Indepreneur and they sell 5 records and they're disappointed, and all this happens within the space of a couple of months. But I mean,
right.
While to build all this, like when Joel says go where the audience is, you're not just going to show up in the room and go, gee, aren't I awesome? Please, everybody follow me. It's not going to happen. So how do you kind of contextualize that because everybody wants everything so fast these days. So how do you kind of calm everybody down and go, hey, listen, it took me a year or 5 years or whatever to make this happen. You have to be able to be in for the long haul.
Yeah. Well, I think I a lot of times try to get people to look at not music, because business is business is business, you know? And the music industry, it doesn't differ so much that we can't learn something from the trends of other industries. And if you're talking about, you essentially have a startup, right? If you're a musician, no one's ever heard of you, you don't have a network, you don't have a fan base, you're still getting just the foundation of your stuff together, you have a startup. And if you follow the trends of small business, right, because that's essentially what you are, most small businesses don't make it past 5 years. And most small businesses lose money for the first 3 to 5 years. So it's, you know, and I know that's difficult to embrace. It takes, even for a brand who sells products, you know, and has great margins and is, you know, except unless you make fidget spinners. If you make fidget spinners, you're rich immediately. But any other business, right? And I think that's what musicians need to understand, is that, or creators of all types, like, it's still a business, and you still have to find customers, and you still have to sell things, and you still have to invest before any of that can happen.
Well, I think when that's an awesome point. And when I used to do seminars, you know, you would always get caught with, you shouldn't do this, and then somebody would always raise their hand and go, but Prince, or but David Lee Roth, or but you know, whoever. And I think it's the same thing now with socials, where you'll go, well, what are you talking about? I don't want to wait 3 to 5 years. I just saw this guitar player on YouTube got 1 million views in a month. That's what I want to be. But that doesn't mean that they're selling $1 million worth of, you know, merchandise a month, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I would recommend anybody who's thinking that way, like, should go watch A's documentary Fake Famous. Because it shows.
Broke up. What documentary was that?
Fake Famous.
Okay, got it.
It is really about all of those numbers, those likes, those shares, those comments, followers, right? These are all vanity metrics, and we don't call them vanity because of, you know, it's meant to be derogatory. We call it vanity because it's visible from the outside, right? And, you know, to be honest, I think that musicians get hooked on that, not just because they think, you know, having a lot of followers is going to equal something in their career. I think it's also a simple dopamine addiction, you know?
Dude.
Like, I'm putting something out in the world and people are reacting to it with their likes and loves and shares. And therefore that's an affirmation, you know, it's an affirmation that I'm doing something that somebody's into, you know?
It's a lie.
Yeah,
it's a lie.
It really is. Well, and it might be, maybe it's a good way to gauge whether or not what you're making is total shit that nobody cares about. But other than that, you can't stop there and be like, well, now a label will find me. Like, I mean,
well, you know what's funny? You know what's funny is we talked earlier about algorithms and everything, and people are always trying to beat the algorithms to get to people, right? So what if you do the equivalent of just go to their house? Like whatever that is, you know, the direct marketing thing. So it's like we've been convinced that we need to go to a social media network because that's where all the people are. But the social media network has an agenda. And if we don't meet that agenda, we don't get to talk to all the people, right? Unless we pay money. And then, of course, if you pay the money, then you can get a direct access to the people. However, over time, even that has eroded to a point where it's not as valuable as it used to be. So something like Clubhouse comes out.
Why are you saying that?
Yeah,
where it's not as valuable as it used to be.
Because what we're talking about is that's exactly what Corrin is being successful at.
Well, no. What I'm saying is What did I just say before that?
I'm not challenging. I want to understand what you mean.
No. Help me remember what I said. I don't
You
have
said
a recorder.
we have to pay.
It won't work as
well.
well.
Yeah. So you have to pay, and over time, even the marketing direct to the customer has eroded because the competition. And like at first, when Facebook started man, you could make a killing. Like anybody with marketing skills could make a killing.
You're comparing over time, not comparing like an individual. If they advertise, it'll get less effective.
Right.
You're saying,
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. And so now, it's kind of like this. When Google Plus came out, I got 1 million followers on that platform. When it first came out, it was very easy for me to directly get people to look at what I'm doing and comment and post, and I would get thousands and thousands of, interactions, right? But over time, as the platform grew, there's more people. There's only so much space for a feed, even with ads, paid ads, and so it just starts getting clogged up eventually.
Where are you leading us with this, Matt? I'm a little bit confused about.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So basically what I'm saying is ultimately we're always reinventing ways to get direct to the customer, to get them on our email list, on our, social media, our, cell phone, whatever it is. Ultimately, what you really want is they're over at your house or your show or whatever. You want it to be a family like that. If you were able, for example, to take every person that would buy a Corrin Campbell CD or like a Corrin Campbell post, if you knew who they were and you sent out a song or a message right now, you could probably get 10 million, 20 million likes or something. You know what I'm saying? I actually
don't know what you're saying.
I'm saying there's probably millions and millions of people out there that have never heard of you that would love you if they knew who you were and if you could get that direct line. But all of these networks that are out there on the internet, whether it's Spotify, Facebook, like Spotify knows who your customers are. They know who loves you, but they don't give you their email address. They don't give you their phone number. They don't give you. So you ultimately, the artist is just trying to get the people that love them to be part of their thing, right?
Well, I think this is part of what Corrin's trying to tell us, though, is that I think that a lot of musicians probably don't act direct market because when I started hearing about this a few years ago, even with me in the business, it was like, wow, that's kind of interesting because don't you want to, sell 1 million downloads on Spotify or whatever? But so I don't think a lot of musicians are actually thinking this business-wise, Corrin, at all. I think they're thinking it's nice to have, 1,000 people love me on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and I'm not really working out selling my CD or whatever it is, my T-shirts, direct to consumers that actually give a shit about me. I think that's kind of rare in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Welcome
She's
back.
Thank you. I'm parked. Good signal. We should be good.
We can invite Joel back. We can invite Joel back now because he won't be scared for you.
He won't be getting a panic attack.
Yeah, he was just making room. He didn't want the Brady Bunch thing happening.
But then also just getting back to the time it takes Corrin is like, as Matt said, you start from zero. It's a startup. You can go, as Joel recommended, if I've got a black metal band, I should hang out where the black metal people are, blah, blah, blah. But how were you so effective at not only hanging out where your fans are, which you can tell us who those were, because I know that you have a genre that you kind of go for, and actually get them to say, oh, you know what, I want to hear more. Because that's really the trick. It's not so much hanging out in the room, it's hanging out and having people go, oh, you're awesome, I want to hear more.
Yeah. I mean, yes, so I'm a rock artist, so that Mr. Mouse and I disagree on that. I don't really go where my people are. I create content that I like, which is why, for example, my YouTube is a wasteland. I'm not interested in it. I don't love making long form videos, and making music videos is just not, you know, in my mind, it's not the best investment. So like I have, you know, 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and I don't post anything. I make a lot of content that I keep gated. You know, I have 40 posts on my Instagram because I don't want to post there every day and just inundate everyone with this, you know, megaphone kind of content. I would much rather post things where if they are going to my profile for the first time ever, it's this little billboard. It's like, here's all the colors my hair have been and a couple other things you might want to know about me, and a, you know, overexposing highlights reel of my cat. Like, now you know the basics of what my IG would be telling you even if I posted every damn day, you know? And the rest of that goes behind, like, in my membership site and in emails and all of that. So for me, I don't go where the people are. I use advertising to find them, and then I use conversations to retain them, you know? Wow. But I would tell you that, I mean, a shocking majority of my fans, their first exposure to me was an ad. And these are people that, you know, like for a while I did a pay what you want funnel, where essentially I was like, look, I will send you my album for $0 with, you know, plus $5 shipping. You can pay whatever you want. And I had people pay $100 for that album who had no idea who I was before they saw that ad. No clue.
And you've had some like serious, like people would, I don't know if you want to talk about numbers at all, but you've told me some stuff privately.
Yeah, I'm transparent.
How much a month can you sell in CDs?
The most that I ever made gross, of course, was $25K in a month.
Of your
not
CDs.
Albums, dollars.
But of your physical products you've sold,
yes,
that much in a month.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, the majority of those are people who'd never heard of me before they bought it. You know, they heard of me, and within 3 to 5 minutes they had purchased it. You know? So I believe in the power of advertising if it's done well. Essentially, it's a 60-second video that has 20 seconds of 3 of the songs that are on the album.
Wow. And just a link.
It's a little preview. Yeah, you would think
listeners are scared too because, you know, or they just, you know, everybody has moments of no belief in themselves, but, you know, I've put the ad out on Facebook. I made sure I wore the right clothes and had my hair done and everything, and nobody gave a fuck. You know, nothing happened. Right. There was retained. So, you know, that's kind of where, you know, it's that charisma versus advertising smarts thing. Sometimes you can put all the money in the world and be a marketing genius, and nobody wants to buy the pink basketball or whatever it is.
Well, and luckily, rock fans love CDs. They love autographed CDs. They love autographed vinyl, you know, and so that is something. And I'm not giving any other genre an out, because there's fans of every genre who love physical merch. I mean, I try to kind of put it this way, right? Like, Bitcoin is a non-tangible thing that people pay money for. You know, it has value. It has inherent value in the fact that people will buy it, right? It's not in and of itself valuable until many people are on board to pay money for it and buy it, right? So in the same way, your album or your track or your merchandise or your very face, a live stream, right, can be worth something if the conversation with your fans is that it's worth something. And if it's not available somewhere for free, you know, then it has inherent value. So it's one of those things where some of the reason why the CD is valuable is because I'm like, look, you know, I sent you this email, and, you know, another, because I've run multiple funnels, right? And one of them is like, look, this 5-day behind the scenes kind of thing where I take all of this video content and I tell you the stories behind the songs, and there's acoustic versions and there's downloads of things that aren't available anywhere else. And after the 5 days, I'm like, here, do you want an album? I'll sign it. And it's a memento from what we've gone through together over the last 5 days, you know?
I do want to say that I listened through your catalog. I've been listening through a lot of people's catalogs recently. Just like I'm meeting all these new musicians. Yeah, well, it's cool. And I really like that orchestral version album that you did, where you redid the album. It was so good. It was, what's it called?
Thank you. That's a greatest hits album. So
yeah,
it's called,
I loved it.
There's Greatest Hits Disc 1, which is straight from the cinema. It's all soundtracky, like if the Westworld soundtrack is like what I was listening to, and like Hans Zimmer, and you know, and then the second album was Visions from the Underground, which is very like SoundCloud dub chill step kind of, you know, kind of remixes, and I just took a bunch of SoundCloudy producer work, you know. And those are all, and they are all sister tracks, right? There's 10 tracks per, and they're all sisters. You know, it's the same 10 songs done these 2 ways. And you know, what's funny about that, just to share a little bit about it, obviously those are reinvented versions of my rock songs. So my existing fans loved it because, you know, even if it wasn't their kind of music, because it was songs they knew. But I also used advertising and sold a bunch of the soundtrack discs to people who love orchestral music, or classical crossover is really the genre. And I used ads to sell the remix discs to people who love that, you know? So, and now they probably won't like anything else from me in the future, but people listen to more than one kind of music, you know? They don't listen to one genre all day. So some people will stick around.
I'm thinking about, for my first track that I'm working on, that I'm gonna release like one song at a time, and each song is gonna be like maybe a 3 or 4 month promotion cycle, and it's gonna be based on a theme. So like the first one's like PTSD and things like that. It's like a metal track, but like I'm trying to figure out like what can I do to get the most out of a period of time, the most promotion, the most awareness, the most spins, the most whatever. Like, what is it that I want? What do I want the most of? Like, how do you figure that out as a new artist?
Yeah,
like, what do you go after?
Welcome
it depends on
Corrin.
Yeah, it depends on who you are, what you want. I mean, if it were me, the first thing I would want is I would put out a video. I would want people to consume a certain portion. So I would put out like a 3 or 4 minute video of me, maybe not even doing the studio recorded version, but an acoustic version, to make it vulnerable and authentic. And then say, hey, I'd love for you to, you know, hear the studio version. I want to hear your opinion, even though it's done, you know, you're not going to like go re-record it. And be like, here's the studio version, and get their contact information, because from there you have the power. You don't need an algorithm. You don't need anything. You know, you can talk to them.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm all about that.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm sorry, the answer is I would want people who are interested, and I would want their contact information so I could tell them about everything else I'm doing, and they can recruit their friends and be a part of my ecosystem.
And so out of the hundreds of ways to get that, you just have to try things and see what works, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think different fans behave different ways. Different offers work. Depending on, you know, age and demographic. I mean, there's just so many things, you know. I do think that it's really important to have things that are on brand, right? So if you are a folk band, having things that are more organic and maybe nature inspired, you know, can be something that is more on brand to get them to love you more. If you're rock, maybe everything black, and I mean, just kind of depends on your style. But
it's kind of like fishing, maybe. Like fishing. Sometimes it's the worm and the hook and the bobber, and sometimes it's a shiny lure. Sometimes it's whatever it is, you're just trying to like reel people, and if it's too hard, you might be like fishing for the wrong kind of fish, or something. Like you need a better rig or something, so
right.
I guess you don't want to eat them for dinner once you hook them.
Is that important?
It's so important. You actually, in this case, need to keep them alive.
Well, I am a big Poe fan, so anytime you want to take me to dinner to like give me, I'm just kidding.
Or
Corrin, I'm a
Corrin
like Campbell
sashimi. I'm into sashimi is good. That could be good. Not just well, no. This is going. Wait. Okay. I have a quick question though. About the ads. Like, are you putting the ads on Facebook? Is that where you're talking about putting ads? Or everywhere?
Well, if you run ads on Facebook, obviously it's Facebook and IG because it's the same platform, or it's the same advertising platform. You can choose to only run it on Facebook or choose to only run it on Instagram. You can run it in stories or just in the news feed or both. So there's a lot of choices there. But I also run ads on Snapchat. I've tried TikTok advertising. It's kind of shit. But it's new, so they're still working to develop it. Twitter advertising, believe it or not, is pretty legit. So, and then Google ads. I don't find that YouTube ads are very, and this is testing across dozens of accounts at our agency. YouTube ads don't tend to be great for discovery, contrary to, at least just in the group we tried. Because it's an obvious ad, it's very disruptive. Whereas if you run ads on Facebook and IG, for example, you don't even really realize it's an ad unless you're looking at that little sponsored thing. And if the content is good enough, people aren't going to notice it as much as they're going to just consume it, Whereas with YouTube, it's like you're expecting an ad and you're expecting that skip after 3 seconds button,
You're like totally ready.
So, yeah, exactly. They're just waiting for it.
Hey, so we've basically been talking to newbies. Corrin's kind of here to help emerging or mid-level artists try to figure out how to market themselves better. But I mean, you're having an awesome career, not just had one. And I mean, what are some of your challenges at your level? I mean, I think some of the Kingdom of Rock community might want to know what challenges do you have?
Are you talking to Poe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, my story is so strange. It's and I want to keep it related to support Corrin's whole thing here, because I really think what you're doing is amazing, Corrin. I really have to tell you, like, I did the homework and went to the site and started working through these things that you have. So first, I just want to say to whoever's listening, this girl is the real deal. She has tools on this Indepreneur thing. No, really, you guys have done it so right and so authentically. And I think your team really actually cares that people get this stuff right. And it really does move me as an artist, because a lot of artists are sort of like orphans and they have no one to give them that leadership. So first of all, just huge kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you so much.
It just feels like full of love and wanting to create community, not just like, oh, I'm getting into tech now. Like, you're the real deal and you care about artists, and that's hard to find. So first of all, look at her stuff, I think anything that I would have to say here really just supports kind of what you're doing, Corrin, because I was lucky enough to sort of build a fan base in the days when we were touring, and it was a little bit pre-social media is when I started. It was the very beginning of it. And I really just met a lot of amazing people in every state of America, and that became a community, and that community sort of fed itself. And there were themes that were important to that community that I just tried to be as supportive of as I could, it's like any relationship. And I think regardless of what the tools are, the important thing is to understand that you're having a relationship with people, and if they resonate with your music, there's something they're getting from that. And in my case, I had a lot of, I made an album about losing a father. So there was a huge community that built around that, about just dealing with loss. and in a way that was energetic and artistic and fun, you know, like, so it was kind of a very natural, intuitive relationship of my going, wow, I keep hearing stories about other people's experiences. So how do I just be a good mascot and MC of that conversation and point people to tools or whatever it is. And the first, you know, my first album resonated with a lot of, you know, I wouldn't even just say women, like anyone who'd been bullied, you know, and anyone who was continuing to accept a bully in their life, whether it was a lover or a boss. And kind of, I had a few pretty funny lines that were kind of good mantras for standing up to a bully and realizing that you really need to create a safe distance before you have this conversation. You know, sometimes not everyone can listen to reason. You need a brand new language. And so again, a lot of communities built up even on their own. And then the internet was only better for that, you know?
Right.
So I would say, you know, it's a little cheesy, but if it's just about selling a song, that's fantastic. But if there's that source in you that is really just trying to communicate and connect with other humans, the community is going to help you find what that is, and just, you know, to honor it and make that part of your artistic process. Like I think the greatest art form on earth is creating relationships. It's really hard. And if you can create healthy relationships and your community is an expression of that, all the tools are like almost unimportant, but you need them just like relationship tools, you know, to start that. But to keep it, you really got to care. You know, people know
Girl,
when you don't.
preach. Preach.
You know? So that's that. And I love that. I feel like the whole world's just getting more aware of when someone doesn't. It's harder and harder to fake that. So, you know, in the end, it's good for everybody. If you follow your bliss, if you build your life around what you really love to do, you're going to want to get up and do it every day, you know, and that's also half the battle. Don't get into music if you don't like performing for people and connecting with them, because your life will be hell, even if you're huge, you know. If you'd rather be alone in your apartment doing something else, then do that, you know, like that's amazing. So that part the tools won't fix that part for you.
Right.
That's kind of my point.
Love that.
You know? Okay.
Love it.
That's all. I turn it over.
That's great. Thank you. And by the way, I wanted to give a shout out to a few people in the audience. We got Steve Gray, Jimmy Fleming, Audrey Ray Champ. Hey, Audrey. How's it going?
Steve.
Audrey's awesome. Let's see.
I think sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was reading the question. Now, go ahead. Well,
I mean, it's great. Corrin, what you said, what you said. I mean, when I was running, you know, guitar player, bass player, keyboard magazine, all these things, it's like, you know, I meet a ton of artists who weren't really authentic about it, you know, who weren't having joy about what they were doing. They just figured this is a way for me to be important, or this is a way for me to show that I have a certain facility on an instrument and I don't really care about reaching out because I'm just going to do a really cool hook and people are going to love me and off I go. You know, it was interesting how, you know, it was kind of funny, and it's kind of sad in a lot of ways too, because the love wasn't there really. And I think, as Poe said, it's a hard gig to be a musician, and man, if you're not digging every tragedy and triumph, it's not going to be fun. You know.
Which, by the way, I'd love to add another thing too, because this is also one of the beauties of music, which I feel is getting harder and harder for especially kids to do, which is that, you know, it's the most fun when it's a group effort, right? So, and it's a lot easier to sustain. And I feel like everybody's kind of like a lone wolf right now. And they're, you know, if you have one person who is just like a jazz head and they just want to do scales all day long and they're like the best bass player in the world, they're still amazing if you give them a context where you have a great frontman who loves talking to people and really delivers a message with that. Is that learning how to be part of things with other people can also kind of give everyone a lane in a community. Like, it's not like because I do feel that like every musician isn't cut out to be like a community leader, you know? That doesn't make them less of a musician. It doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to make a living, but I feel like the solution is in the relationship skills. Learn how to share, learn how to cut people in, you know, on the, when it's the right moment to go, especially if they're young, be my posse, because you'll stay alive a lot longer if you can rely on your boys, you know, which I mean for as a genderless term. But you know, that's part of it too. It's and then as a unit, you can bring a lot of people through that, and they don't all have to handle all of it. That's my wish. Life is just happier when you have your bros. You know?
No, it's like if you have a posse that's built on people that have your back and are supportive. Bonus if they're super smart and super talented, that's even better. You know, so like I really think that definitely building the group of people that's going to be around you for the rest of your life, if you're going to be an artist, is really important. Otherwise, you're going to be like, who is it? Like Janie Lane from Warrant was talking about Cherry Pie and how he wished he had never recorded that song, and he hates it every time that he sang. You know, it's just like, F my life. I hate this. You know, like, but I mean,
you had a baby with somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're having it's a baby, and you can't get rid of it.
Yeah. I had one situation like that early where I wrote a song with someone that did some really good stuff, and I didn't realize that the lyrics, which came from a short story, would now belong to that song. So if I wanted to publish the short story, I now needed the permission of my co-writer, who only wrote the music, and that was like counterintuitive to me. I was like, wait, but they have nothing to do with that. But I couldn't really prove it that I'd written it before. Right. So it was hostage to that song. So I just,
that's horrible.
But you also got to throw caution to the wind sometimes too. I still don't regret that song coming into the world, but you know, you test the relationships a little bit before you have babies. You know?
Right. Yeah.
You can write songs, but like, don't make it a band until you've shared a barrel of salt. You know, figure out who they are.
Totally.
Well, with that in mind, we are getting to the top of the hour, but I was going to say, you know, a lot of bands, a lot of musicians kind of get together like miscalculated relationships. You know, they're just like, oh, I love you. You love me, bro. Like we're going to do this. We're going to go. But you don't think about it. And then now you're in a band with some people, and I've only been in church bands. So I was in the military, so I couldn't make a band and go tour or anything like that. So I just played at the chapel and church and stuff, you know. So, but all I'm saying is that like it's you get stuck with these people, and a lot of bands. Like I talk to people, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't really talk that much." Like it's just, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
Should you be more careful?
I always thought that was sad. I mean, I came up with the Beatles, you know, and I felt like, I mean, it was tragic to me to hear that John and Paul got in fights. You know, I just felt at this point when you started a band, it was 4, 5, 6, 8 people, whatever it was. And it was those people against the world. You created in this cauldron, everybody's personality added to whatever the music was. And it was like, we're going to go on stage and it's going to be, you know, it was really difficult to go, oh, wait a minute. You suck now. I don't even want to talk to you. You know, it was hard to believe that stuff went on, you know, it's crushing to me.
But I think also there was like so little communication about that stuff. That's why I think it's important, you know, to like to me, it's a little like, you know, nobody ever used to talk about sex. Like you talk to kids today and you say, hey, do you know what safe sex is? And they're like, this is a condom and you say it before and you have to do, they're not scared.
Yeah,
and I feel a little like in music, it's the same way. You guys, how do you feel about like dollar comes in, you're splitting it. Are you good with that? You know, there hasn't been enough of that dialogue to give, especially because people can collaborate so quickly. I mean, it's why I love, you know, cryptos, the possibility of smart contracts. You could literally like create writing tools for people where it's like, you know, it's like a Google Drive document and it automatically gives, you know, credit for your participation and it's done. You know, there's so many possibilities now to make that easier. And I don't know, I think we're in a moment where a lot of that needs to be invented, and it can be, because also like kids are just so smart, you know, they're not as afraid to talk about a lot of things. They just don't, but there's very little leadership on this front, because I think there's too much to be gained from the like evil overlords by ignorance. You know, they just like, so people like you, Corrin, you guys, me too, like just educate. You know, the business stuff is like sex and music. Talk a lot about it. That's my motto for myself.
Yeah. Well, I think
so all the musicians
song,
need
kid,
safe sex. They need sex education.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly
Have
right.
the
You
hard
need like sex
conversation.
education.
That's
You're
why
making
80s hair
babies,
metal.
guys.
80s hair metal is the best music. That's why.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's funny
Exactly.
actually, on my podcast, which is called Creative Juice, we just did an episode on having hard convos with difficult people. And it was exactly about that. It was like, have these hard conversations now so that you love each other and don't get mad later because you already know what this is, you know, and then you can just appreciate each other and the art that you've made, and all of that is behind you, you know? So
well,
I totally agree.
Well, it's great that with what you're doing, Corrin, and I think Poe's right about kids being smarter. You know, in my era, I would try, if we were having a co-writing session, to say, here's the contract. Before you leave this room, you're going to say, I own 70% of the song. You own 30. It's going through my publishing company. We're going to share it. And I mean, I don't know, you know, countless people walked out and just said, you know, you just ruined everything. I'm out, you know. And it's like, so now what do I produce the song, because the ownership is now in the air? You know, it was crazy.
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, I have to say, I like, for me, and I really recommend this. Like when I hit problems with co-writers like that, I just gave it away instantly. You want 70%, you only wrote 3 things, you got it, take it. And I probably didn't write with that person again, but sometimes I even did. Because the truth is, the amount of time you sweat over that shit, you could write 10 more songs. Like, what's the, you know, it's like, you got to stay in the flow. And if that's what that person needs in that moment, I'm like, okay, you know, here you go. You know, I just wrote 3 more tonight in the time that I would have stressed over this. And I think that the more, in a way, like, unprecious people become about it, the more you create, you know.
Totally.
And it's a hard thing to do. I've done it. I know this because I did it both ways. And I was like, every time I let go, it was actually the songs that came after that ended up being worth more anyway. You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
It's like karma.
I didn't get to the point of even arguing over percentages. Just like as soon as the paper came out, they were gone. So it's an interesting.
I see what you mean. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I like it better now. I like it. I like what you're saying, Paul. I like what Corrin is trying to do to the community. I think musicians do have to learn to be business people. Doesn't mean you're going to negate your creativity if you just be smart about things. And I think, Corrin, you should give your stats again, because people should, because after all, they should go check out Indepreneur and figure out how to get things done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. What would you like me to?
Just give them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So well, there's free resources if you're just looking to dip your toes in. We have a podcast as well. It's called Creative Juice, which is hosted by me and our agency team lead, Jack. We also have a YouTube channel with tons of resources that is obviously also free. It's called Full Stack Creative. And then lastly, Indepreneur.io, which is INDE preneur, like entrepreneur. So yeah, and you can obviously hit me up if you want. I'm at Corrin Campbell on all the things you could possibly want and more. But yeah, I think there's just so many great resources out there, and I'm glad that we can be a part of it, because this community needs more support. And I think helping people think of it as a business, but also like thinking of it like a business, does not negate the creativity. And businesses are always looking for creative solutions, right? And so you won't need to look for that because you are creative. So yeah, that is a huge passion for me, and it's great to just be in a community of other people who care about that.
That's cool. Now, where can people find more out about your music?
CorrinCampbell.com, which is just my name.
Oh, yeah. Well, on the screen, yeah.
2 R's, 1 N, no E. Corrin Campbell, like the soup.
Pronounced
right now.
Corrin.
Here it is. It's right there. Go get it.
It's, you know what the easiest thing is, if you say it like it's K-R-I-N. Corrin.
Corrin. All right.
Just say it like it's one syllable.
Oh, I butchered her name within 5 seconds of her being on camera. It's pretty awesome.
And you know what? Joel always says my name wrong, and now you cemented it in his mind further.
I know, I'm terrible. But well, hey, Poe, so Poe, what have you been doing lately? Before we close.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm here to support Corrin today. I crashed this party, so let's go there another time.
Well, we'll do that.
And thank you for letting me. And yeah, but there's lots to tell. Plenty of time.
All right,
it's still lockdown. We're on Zoom.
I will come on and be your cheerleader when it's your turn.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
if you guys are
excited.
If you guys are on Clubhouse, what are your guys' Clubhouse's names? Mine's at Crimson Symphony on Clubhouse.
Ooh, mine's Corrin Campbell. Everything.
Poe.
Nobody spells their name like me, and I sign up for everything before everyone else. So I'm always.
And you know what Mike's name is on Clubhouse?
Tell
Nothing.
me.
What is yours?
Because I can't get him to get on Clubhouse yet.
Cranky old punk rocker. That's me.
We're gonna get him on there.
Ted Cohen is on Clubhouse.
I know Ted Cohen is. Yeah, he is.
Call yourself Cranky Old Punk Rocker is awesome, and I will jump into your club, and we will have a mosh pit. It will be so much fun.
A welcome party for you.
Yeah.
It'll be so great.
Now you're making me feel bad for resisting. Now I feel like it's all over.
The whole purpose of this interview was to get leverage on Mike. That's what I really was. That was my whole goal here. So you guys did great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to join Clubhouse.
Yeah.
You have to. Cranky Old Punk Rocker, that is the best name ever.
What?
Basically,
you have too much knowledge in you.
Mosh pit every night, and just everyone will be moshing like with the pillows in their bedroom. It'll be awesome.
There is quite a shortage of rock musicians on Clubhouse right now. Like hip hop totally came in and took over. So we're getting ready to start building up the rock side a little bit. So
we're bringing the horns, baby.
You need to bring in the punk rock spirit. It's gonna be awesome.
We're gonna do it.
I promise. I promise.
All right. Well, this is Matt Gibson, and if I don't get this under control, it's gonna go off the rails. So we're gonna have to pull the plug. No, I'm kidding.
I just have to. I can't stress this more critically.
Okay.
As to sign off, you have to say Corrin's name correctly.
Okay.
Just saying.
I'm gonna say it like I live in Nashville. Corrin Campbell. Is that right?
She's covering her face.
Actually, what they say it is like Korean food. Korean. That's how they say it. Korean.
Yeah. That's nice. Oh, by the way, Poe, in case you were wondering, Corrin is in Nashville in an ice storm, so her power's out.
Oh my God. I just thought she was all spooky cool.
Yeah.
You went more noir than me, so respect.
I totally did. I was searching for like a street light, but then I was losing signal. So I thought I'm just gonna stay put.
It looks beautiful.
It's pretty funny.
What about you? Stay safe. Do you have like water? Because some people were talking about like they don't even have water to drink or something.
Yeah, mine's not nearly that extreme, and I've got a backup on my HVAC, and I have a backup for my router. So I've got internet and I've got heat, and that's all I need.
Tesla batteries.
Oh my God.
It. You got it.
Yes.
Yeah, the Powerwall.
We'll try to.
All right,
send you
guys.
some
Well, thank you so much.
LA weather.
I'm Matt Gibson and Michael Melinda, co-host every week, Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it's not ready, but we are going to have a Discord back channel or something like that where we can start telling you guys, hey, go join our Discord. And that way we can chat during the week and release things to you guys and stuff like that. But we're working on that right now. So,
hey, Matt, who's on next week?
Oh, next week? We don't know. Maybe Poe. Like, I don't know yet. No, we haven't decided yet. We actually,
I'd be tuning in.
There's like 3 people. I don't know if Brian Latour is listening, but he is Peter Tosh's estate manager. He's due on the schedule. So it might be next week. I have to look. I can't remember, but we'll see.
Okay. But we're going to be here no matter what.
We will be here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, no matter what.
Well, maybe you can just invite all your Clubhouse friends to berate me even further about not being on Clubhouse.
We could. Why don't you give everybody, give Mike a virtual fist bump, and we're good. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. Well,
everybody. Bam, 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 bam.
Everybody wave goodbye.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Peace out.